we need to talk about the 3 a.m. club. And no, I don't mean the insomniacs. Or, the students pulling an all-nighter before finals.
For the people closing down the bar.
Right, exactly. I'm
Yeah.
talking about a very specific, very quiet group of people, the ones who wake up in the dead of night to just stand in silence and pray.
It's kind of the ultimate paradox of spiritual practice, isn't it?
It really is. Because if you ask anyone in the faith, literally anyone about this practice, they will tell you it is the peak. They'll say it's where the magic happens.
Yeah, everyone agrees the rewards are massive.
Universally. Everyone is like, yes, this is the gold standard.
Mhm.
And yet almost none of us actually do it consistently.
Right, it's that classic gap between knowing and doing. We know the theory, but the practice feels like climbing Everest without oxygen.
Exactly. And today we are doing a deep dive right into that gap. We're talking about Tahajjud, the voluntary night prayer in Islam.
And we have some fantastic sources to unpack today.
We do. We've got this incredible reflective piece from Ikrsense called The Struggle, the Stillness, the Secret, plus some very honest, vulnerable commentary from community members like Noor and Ayman, who are right in the trenches trying to make this a habit.
And I want to be clear right off the bat for everyone listening, this isn't a how-to manual. We aren't just going to list the mechanical steps of washing and standing.
Yeah, we're going way deeper than that.
Exactly. The mission of this deep dive is to look at the psychology of the night. We want to unpack why we don't do it even when we really want to. And the spiritual physics, if you will, of what actually happens to a human being when they do wake up.
We want to move from just knowing about it to understanding what it means to actually taste it. But before we get into the heavy stuff, let's do a quick level set. For anyone who might be slightly rusty on the terminology when we say tahajjud, what are we actually talking about?
So simply put, Tahajjud is a voluntary prayer performed after you've slept, usually in that last third of the night. And the key word there is voluntary. It's not fard.
Right, it's not obligatory.
Exactly. It's not like the 5 daily prayers that every Muslim has to do.
Mm-hmm.
No one is going to punish you for sleeping through it.
It's extra credit. But the source material highlights something really critical right at the start. For the Prophet of Islam, this wasn't just extra credit, it was his lifeline.
Absolutely. The texts mention that he practiced this with such consistency that his feet would actually swell from standing so long.
Which is wild to think about.
It is. And there's this famous story where his companions asked him, why do you do this? You've already been guaranteed forgiveness. You're set.
Which is a totally valid question. If you've already passed the test, why are you still studying until 4 a.m.?
Right. But his answer puts everything into perspective. He didn't say, I'm afraid of hell or I want more rewards. He said, shall I not be a grateful servant?
Wow. That sets the bar incredibly high.
Mm.
It shifts the entire motivation from duty to love. But let's be real for a second. Most of us are not functioning at that level. I mean, I hit snooze 3 times for the obligatory prayer sometimes.
You are definitely not alone there.
So the research creates this really useful framework. They call it the 3 stations of observation. It's basically a diagnostic tool.
Yeah, it says everyone falls into one of 3 buckets regarding this night prayer.
And I think this is where we should start. By looking in the mirror. You listening right now, ask yourself which station you're currently in.
I found this framework a little uncomfortable, to be honest, just because it's so accurate.
Let's walk through them. Station 1. The source calls this the distant admirer.
And this is probably the vast majority of us. The distant admirer is someone who believes in the power of the night prayer. They totally respect it.
They might even share quotes about it on social media.
Exactly.
Oh.
They rarely, if ever, actually do it.
This feels like the New Year's resolution crowd.
Precisely. Maybe during Ramadan, because everyone else is doing it and the collective energy is high, they'll jump in. Or maybe they hear a really fiery motivational lecture, right? They get inspired, set the alarm for 3:40 a.m., do it once, and then never again.
I feel personally attacked right now. I have definitely been that person who buys the fancy alarm clock, has the absolute best intentions, and then nothing.
The article describes this as an invisible barrier. It's not a lack of belief. It's that the practice remains a distant ideal. It's something holy people do.
Right, it's something sheikhs do.
Exactly. It's not something I do. The identity never shifts. It's always someday.
Someday I'll be the kind of person who wakes up before dawn. But today I need my 8 hours. Okay, let's move to station 2 before I get too depressed about station 1. This is the crisis manager.
Ah, yes, the crisis manager. This is the person who treats Tahajjud like a spiritual emergency room.
The break glass in case of fire approach.
Exactly. When life becomes overwhelming, maybe a medical diagnosis comes in, or you lose your job, or you're desperate for a spouse, suddenly you're awake at 3 a.m.
Because you have nowhere else to go.
You turn to the night, and here's the tricky part. The source acknowledges that it works.
It does work. That's the thing. They find refuge, they find that sacred silence, and they get the comfort they need. But there's a catch.
A big catch.
It feels a little transactional, doesn't it? Like, God, I'm in trouble, so I'm calling you. But once...
Don't call me, I'll call you.
Exactly.
Once the storm passes, the prayer stops. For the crisis manager, Tahajjud is a tool to fix a problem. It's not an anchor for the soul. It's a reserve parachute, not the engine of the plane.
That's a great way to put it. And honestly, it's human nature. We reach out when we're drowning. But the texts argue that there's a higher level, a goal we should be aiming for. That leads us to station 3, the lover.
This is where the entire dynamic shifts. The lover isn't rising because they need something from the divine, like a job or a cure. They are rising because they need him.
It's the difference between calling your dad because you need money and calling your dad because you just miss his voice.
Perfect analogy. The lover has stitched this prayer into their weekly rhythm. Maybe not every single night. We're not expecting perfection here, but it's part of who they are.
And the source quotes the scholar Ibn al-Qayyim here, right?
Yes, he calls it the station of the lovers. He describes it as an interrupted conversation between the heart and the creator.
There's another quote here from Sufyan al-Thawri that really blew my mind. He said, "The people of the night have more enjoyment in their night prayers than the people of entertainment have in their fun."
It's a radical claim, isn't it? Especially in our dopamine-addicted world.
Yeah, he's suggesting there is a sweetness or a high that is better than Netflix, better than the party, better than the scrolling.
But pause here. Because moving from station 1, the distant admirer, or station 2, the crisis manager, to station 3, that feels impossible for a lot of people listening. We have jobs, we have kids, we have exhaustion.
And this is where the deep dive takes a sharp turn. The article drops a quote from an 8th century scholar, Al-Fudail ibn Iyad. And honestly, it's a slap in the face. It's called the wake-up call in the text.
Yeah, I read this and I immediately got defensive.
Prepare yourself. He says, if you are unable to stand for prayer at night, then know that you are shackled and held back by your sins.
Ooh.
Right. Shackled by sins. My immediate reaction is, whoa, wait a minute. That feels incredibly harsh. I mean, sometimes I'm just exhausted because I worked a 10-hour shift and the baby was crying. Is the text really saying that's a sin issue, not a biology issue?
I had the exact same reaction. It feels very judgmental on the surface. But if we peel back the layers, he's talking about spiritual physics. He's reframing the struggle.
How so?
We tend to think of waking up as purely a physical battle. Circadian rhythms, melatonin, how comfortable the pillow is. Al-Fudail is saying, no, look deeper.
So he's saying the physical exhaustion is actually a symptom of something else.
Exactly. He's suggesting that your spiritual state during the day dictates your physical ability at night. And the shackles aren't necessarily major crimes. We aren't talking about robbing banks here. We're talking about the weight of heedlessness.
Give me a modern example. What does a shackle look like for someone listening today?
Okay, think about doom scrolling. If you spend 3 hours before bed filling your brain with angry tweets, envy-inducing Instagram posts, and mindless distraction, that is a weight.
You're filling your heart with noise.
Right. Al-Fudail's argument is if you ignore the divine all day to consume that junk, you won't have the spiritual strength to answer the call at night.
That really hits home. It transforms it from a simple time management issue to a relationship issue. It's like if I ignore my spouse all day, stare at my phone when they talk to me, and then expect to have a deep, intimate conversation at midnight, it's just not going to happen.
Precisely. The connection has been severed by 1,000 small cuts during the day. And that shift in perspective is vital. If we view Tahajjud as just ticking a box, we will always find an excuse.
But the research points to a hadith qudsi, which is a narration where God speaks directly. And it says, a servant draws near with voluntary deeds until I love him.
Until I love him. That's the end game.
That's it. The goal isn't to be disciplined or to be a quote-unquote good religious person. The goal is to become beloved.
And when you view the alarm clock through that lens, that it's an invitation to be loved, it changes how you react to the noise. It's not, I have to get up. It's, I'm being called.
That is a profound shift. But let's get practical for a minute. Let's say we accept the invitation, we fight the shackles, we get up. What actually happens? The source breaks down the anatomy of the experience into 4 distinct layers. And I love this because it explains why people say this practice is addictive.
Right. Layer 1 is the one we all know and hate, the struggle, the first battle.
The battle of the duvet.
It is a legitimate battle. Ibn al-Qayyim compares it to a soldier's first battle. He says if you win this one, the exact moment where your brain is screaming just 5 more minutes, the rest of the campaign gets easier.
I really like that analogy. It validates that it is hard. It's not supposed to be easy to leave a warm bed at 4 a.m. when the house is freezing cold.
And that difficulty is exactly the point. The source argues that this moment of struggle exposes what the heart truly desires. It's a binary choice, comfort or closeness.
So every time you throw off the covers, you are making a physical statement.
You are proving your priority to yourself. You're saying this meeting is worth more than this mattress.
Okay, so you fight the battle, you get up, you splash water on your face, then comes layer 2, the solitude.
This is all about the removal of the audience. Think about our days. We are constant performers. We perform for our bosses, for our families, and especially for the internet. We are constantly curating our lives.
Even when we pray at the mosque or in public, there's a tiny part of us that's aware of the people around us. Am I standing straight? Do I look pious?
Exactly. But at night, there is no one. No likes, no retweets, no applause. The article mentions a beautiful insight from Ibn Masud, who said that those who pray at night are the most dignified by day.
Why dignified specifically?
Because the solitude grants clarity. When you strip away the audience, you find pure transparency. You aren't doing it for reputation. You are doing it for the one.
And that builds a kind of inner dignity that carries over into the daylight.
Yes. You don't need the world's validation because you've already had your private audience with the king.
That leads perfectly into layer 3, the conversation. The source talks a lot about vulnerability here.
This is the difference between formal prayer and intimate conversation. During the day, our prayers might be rushed. We're thinking about the next meeting or the grocery list. But at night, the source describes a shift where the speech becomes less formal and much more honest.
It mentions the prophet repeating a single verse over and over and weeping.
Yes, there's a profound psychological safety in the night. You can be fully heard without judgment. You can whisper things to the divine that you couldn't say to your spouse, your therapist, or your best friend. It's the ultimate unburdening.
And finally, layer 4, the result of all this, the khushu, the stillness.
The taste. The article describes this as a sweetness that is only tasted by those who rise. It's a complete centering of the soul. In a world that is spinning 100 miles an hour, the night offers a hard reset. It's not just quiet on the outside. It becomes quiet on the inside.
So we have the philosophy, we have the why, but I'm looking at the practical side of this deep dive. Because I know myself and I know our listeners, we can be super inspired right now, but tomorrow morning at 4 a.m., inspiration is going to lose to sleepiness.
We absolutely need tactics, not just theory.
Exactly. And the comment section of our source material was actually a goldmine for this. We had 2 community members, Noor and Iman, who dropped some serious wisdom. Let's talk about Noor's point first, because it relates back to those shackles we talked about earlier.
Yes. Noor's insight was essentially a lifestyle audit. She said preparation doesn't start at bedtime. It starts when you wake up the morning before.
Which is a terrifying thought. It implies it's a 24-hour cycle.
It is entirely a 24-hour cycle. She talks about consumption. She specifically suggests that fasting, or at least eating lightly, helps. But more importantly, she talks about media consumption. If you fill yourself with junk-heavy food, toxic news, mindless entertainment all day, your soul is in a food coma, so to speak.
It makes total sense. You can't binge-watch distractible content for 6 hours, eat a heavy burger at 10 p.m., and then expect to seamlessly transition into a deep, mystical, spiritual state just a few hours later.
Right. It's input versus output. If you want the output of spiritual clarity, you have to control the input of what you consume.
So that's the prep work. But what about the mental game? Aman had a tip that I think is crucial for the perfectionists out there.
Aman is the perfect antidote to the all-or-nothing mentality. She says if you miss a night, don't despair. Don't let guilt paralyze you.
Because that's usually what happens. We miss one single night, we feel like complete failures, and we just quit. We say, well, I guess I'm just not cut out for this.
Exactly. Aman suggests making it up with duha prayer. For those who don't know, duha is a voluntary prayer you can do in the mid-morning, usually after sunrise, but before noon. It's like a spiritual makeup session.
It's a way of saying I missed the appointment, but I'm still showing up.
And she adds another layer that I love. Even if you are physically too tired to stand and pray at night, maybe you're sick or maybe you're just drained, stay in bed, but keep the night alive with istighfar. That's the practice of simply saying, I seek forgiveness.
So just keep the channel open.
Yes. It says, I might be physically exhausted, but my heart is still turned toward you. It maintains the habit of the time, even if you can't do the physical action.
I really like that. It lowers the barrier to entry significantly. But there's one more practical rule that the expert source emphasized, and I think this is the absolute most important one for beginners.
Consistency beats intensity.
Say that again for the people in the back.
Consistency beats intensity. Do not try to be a monk overnight. The article emphasizes building a steady light. It is infinitely better to pray just 2 short rakahs, 2 units of prayer, which might take you literally 4 minutes consistently, than to pull an all-nighter once a year.
It's the gym logic. Going for 20 minutes every day is way better than going for 5 hours once a month and injuring yourself.
Bonds are built through showing up. A relationship isn't built on one massive grand gesture. It's built on small, repeated interactions. Just saying, I'm here, I showed up, I'm tired, but I'm here.
And that brings us back to the core warning regarding the crisis manager. Iman echoed this too in her comments. How sad it is when people stop praying once they get what they want.
It returns to that transactional relationship. I got the job, so I don't need to call you anymore, which is the quickest way to kill any relationship, human or divine.
So let's bring this all together. We've looked at the stations, the shackles, the layers of the experience, and the practical tactics. When you synthesize all of this, what is the big picture for our listeners?
I think the core theme from all our sources is that Tahajjud is an ecosystem. It's an ecosystem of struggle and surrender. It's the exact place where the concept of obedience transforms into the reality of love. We often view faith as a set of rules, right? Do this, don't do that. But this deep dive suggests that the night prayer is where the rules fade away into a pure relationship.
It reminds me of that analogy. You don't build a friendship by only calling when your car breaks down.
Right. If you only call your friend when you're in trouble, that's not a friend. That's an insurance policy. You build a friendship by calling just to say, I'm here. And that is what the lover in Station 3 is doing. They are waking up while the rest of the world sleeps to simply say, I am here.
That's beautiful. It's presence over petitions.
And that presence changes you. As the source says, it makes you the most dignified by day. You carry the secret of the night with you. You walk through your office, your school, your home, knowing that you have a secret strength that no one else can see.
Well, this has certainly given me a lot to think about. I'm definitely reconsidering my evening routine and my alarm clock settings. It's a challenging topic, but a deeply inviting one.
It is. It's an open invitation that renews every single sunset.
And on that note, we will leave you with the final provocative question posed by the source material. It's something for you to sit with tonight before you close your eyes.
How long can we afford to keep sleeping through a door that he opens for us every single night?
Something to ponder. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.